The morning sun cast long shadows across the grand courtyard of Buckingham Palace as 9-year-old Princess Charlotte walked with the confident stride that had become her signature. Palace staff had grown accustomed to the young princess's natural authority, a trait that seemed to flow through her royal blood like an inherited gift. On this particular Tuesday in October, Charlotte was dressed in her favorite navy blue coat with polished black shoes that clicked rhythmically against the ancient stone floors. Charlotte had always been different from her brothers. While Prince George carried the weight of future kingship with quiet seriousness, and Prince Louis brought chaos and laughter wherever he went, Charlotte possessed something unique. She had the rare combination of her father's diplomatic nature and her late grandmother Diana's fierce independence. Palace observers often whispered that she reminded them of Queen Elizabeth II in her younger days, commanding respect without demanding it. The princess had been returning from her private tutoring session when she noticed the commotion near the East Wing. A group of palace guards stood at attention, but their formation seemed wrong to Charlotte's trained eye. She had grown up watching ceremonial procedures, understanding the precise choreography that governed royal protocol. These guards were facing the wrong direction for a standard patrol, and their weapons were positioned incorrectly according to the palace security manual she had memorized during one of her many curious explorations of royal procedures. What troubled Charlotte most was not just the improper formation, but the fact that these guards appeared to be blocking access to a corridor that led to the private family quarters. This was highly irregular, as family members always maintained unrestricted access to their personal areas of the palace. The young princess had an instinctive understanding of royal hierarchy and protocol that often surprised adults. She knew that something was amiss, and her natural leadership instincts kicked in immediately. Charlotte approached the guards with the poise of someone far beyond her 9 years. Her governess had taught her that true royalty was not about demanding obedience, but about earning respect through knowledge and fair judgment. The princess had absorbed these lessons completely, understanding that her eventual role in the monarchy would require her to make difficult decisions with confidence and wisdom. The head guard, Sergeant Thompson, was a veteran of 15 years in royal service. He had served through multiple royal events and had developed a deep respect for the royal family's intelligence and dedication. When he saw Princess Charlotte approaching, he immediately recognized the determined expression that had become famous throughout the palace staff. This was not a child seeking attention or playing games. This was a future queen identifying a problem that needed immediate resolution. Charlotte stopped directly in front of the formation and examined the situation with the analytical mind that her tutors had worked hard to develop. She had been taught to observe before acting, to understand context before making judgments, and to consider consequences before issuing commands. The princess took several moments to assess what she was seeing, noting every detail from the guards' positioning to their equipment arrangement. "Sergeant Thompson," Charlotte said in a clear, authoritative voice that carried across the courtyard, "your formation is incorrect for this location and time of day. According to palace security protocols, guards stationed at this position should be facing the main entrance, not blocking family access corridors. Additionally, your weapons positioning suggests you're preparing for an external threat assessment, but no such alert has been issued according to the morning briefings I attended with my father." The sergeant was impressed by Charlotte's detailed knowledge but also concerned about the unusual circumstances that had led to this formation. He had received direct orders from Queen Camilla's private secretary just 30 minutes earlier, instructing him to prevent any family members from accessing the East Wing corridor until further notice. The orders had seemed strange to him as well, but royal commands were not typically questioned by palace staff. Charlotte continued her assessment, walking around the formation with the confidence of a military inspector. She had watched countless ceremonial reviews and understood exactly how proper formations should appear. Her education had included extensive study of royal protocol, palace security measures, and the chain of command that governed daily operations. The princess knew that unauthorized changes to security protocols could create serious vulnerabilities and needed immediate correction. "Sergeant, I need to understand the authorization for this formation change," Charlotte stated firmly. "Palace security protocols require that all modifications to standard procedures be documented and approved through proper channels. As a member of the immediate royal family, I have the right to review any security measures that affect family access to palace areas." Sergeant Thompson found himself in an unprecedented situation. He had clear orders from Queen Camilla's office, but he was being directly questioned by a princess who demonstrated remarkable understanding of palace procedures. The sergeant had never encountered a situation where royal commands potentially conflicted, especially involving such a young member of the family. His training had prepared him for external threats and ceremonial duties, but not for navigating complex internal royal dynamics. The other guards remained at attention but watched the interaction with growing interest. Word had spread throughout palace staff about Princess Charlotte's exceptional intelligence and natural leadership abilities. Many veteran staff members privately believed that Charlotte possessed the strongest royal instincts of her generation, combining traditional royal dignity with modern understanding of leadership principles. Charlotte noticed the guards' hesitation and recognized that they were caught between conflicting authorities. Her diplomatic training had taught her to identify when people were struggling with difficult decisions and to provide clear guidance that respected everyone's position. The princess understood that effective leadership meant helping others resolve conflicts rather than simply demanding compliance. "I understand that you've received orders," Charlotte said with surprising empathy for someone her age. "However, I need you to understand that any security modifications affecting family access must be coordinated with my father's security team. This is not about questioning authority. It's about ensuring that all royal security measures work together properly, rather than creating confusion or potential vulnerabilities." The princess then did something that surprised everyone present. Instead of simply demanding immediate compliance, she asked Sergeant Thompson to explain the exact orders he had received and the reasoning behind them. Charlotte had learned that good leaders gather information before making decisions, and she wanted to understand the complete situation before taking action. Sergeant Thompson explained that Queen Camilla's private secretary had contacted him directly, instructing him to prevent family members from accessing the East Wing corridor because of ongoing private consultations that required absolute confidentiality. The orders had seemed legitimate, coming through official channels, but the sergeant admitted that the unusual nature of the request had made him uncomfortable. Charlotte listened carefully to the explanation, processing the information with the analytical skills that had impressed her tutors and family members. She understood that Queen Camilla had legitimate reasons for wanting privacy during important meetings, but she also recognized that completely blocking family access to their own living areas violated fundamental palace protocols and potentially created security risks. The young princess realized that this situation required a solution that respected Queen Camilla's privacy needs while maintaining proper palace security procedures. Charlotte had been taught that the best royal decisions were those that considered everyone's legitimate interests and found ways to accommodate them without compromising essential principles. "I understand Queen Camilla's need for privacy during important consultations," Charlotte acknowledged diplomatically. "However, completely blocking family access creates security vulnerabilities and violates protocols that exist for important reasons. I'm going to authorize a modified approach that provides the privacy she needs while maintaining proper security procedures." Charlotte then demonstrated leadership skills that would have impressed seasoned diplomats. She instructed the guards to reposition themselves in a way that would discourage casual interruptions, while still allowing emergency family access if needed. She also requested that a discreet notice be posted indicating that the area was temporarily restricted for private consultations, which would inform family members about the situation without creating absolute barriers. The princess's solution was elegant in its simplicity and wisdom. It addressed Queen Camilla's privacy concerns while maintaining palace security protocols and family access rights. The guards could see immediately that this approach was both more practical and more consistent with their training than the absolute blockade they had been ordered to maintain. However, as Charlotte was explaining the new positioning to the guards, Queen Camilla herself appeared at the end of the corridor, having heard reports of the commotion from her private secretary. The queen consort's expression made it clear that she was not pleased with the young princess's intervention in what she considered her private affairs. The confrontation that was about to unfold would test Charlotte's diplomatic skills and royal authority in ways that no tutoring session could have prepared her for. The 9-year-old princess was about to face her first major challenge in navigating the complex dynamics of adult royal politics, armed only with her natural intelligence, her understanding of royal protocol, and her unwavering confidence in doing what was right. The tension in the corridor was thick as Princess Charlotte absorbed the full impact of Queen Camilla's ultimatum. The young princess understood that she was at a crossroads that would shape not only this immediate situation but her entire future relationship with her step-grandmother and her role within the royal family structure. Charlotte had been taught that true leadership sometimes required making difficult stands on important principles, even when those stands came with significant personal costs. Sergeant Thompson and his guards found themselves witnessing what was essentially a constitutional crisis in miniature. They were receiving direct contradictory orders from two members of the royal family, each claiming authority over palace security arrangements. The sergeant had been trained to handle external threats and ceremonial duties, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for navigating conflicting royal commands from within the family itself. Charlotte took a deep breath and made a decision that would surprise everyone present, including Queen Camilla. Instead of continuing the direct confrontation or backing down from her position, the princess chose to demonstrate the diplomatic skills that her tutors had worked so hard to develop. She would find a way to maintain her principles while providing Queen Camilla with a face-saving solution. "Camilla," Charlotte said with remarkable maturity, "I can see that this situation has become more complicated than either of us intended. You need privacy for important consultations, and I need to ensure that palace security protocols are properly maintained. Instead of continuing this disagreement, let me propose a solution that addresses both of our legitimate concerns." Queen Camilla was caught off guard by Charlotte's diplomatic approach. The queen consort had been prepared for further defiance or possibly tears and emotional appeals, but she had not expected the young princess to shift into problem-solving mode. Camilla found herself curious about what Charlotte might propose, even as she remained frustrated by the entire situation. Charlotte continued, "I suggest that we implement a modified security arrangement that provides you with the privacy you need while maintaining access routes for emergency situations. The guards can position themselves to discourage casual interruptions while still following proper protocols. Additionally, we can post discreet notices that inform family members about the temporary consultation period without creating absolute barriers." The princess then demonstrated her understanding of palace hierarchy by adding, "Of course, any security arrangements should be coordinated with my father's protection team to ensure they integrate properly with overall palace security measures. This isn't about questioning anyone's authority, it's about making sure all our security measures work together effectively." Sergeant Thompson immediately recognized the wisdom of Charlotte's proposal. The modified arrangement would address Queen Camilla's privacy needs while maintaining the security protocols that his team was trained to follow. More importantly, it would resolve the conflicting orders situation that had put his guards in an impossible position. Queen Camilla found herself in the uncomfortable position of having to respond to a surprisingly reasonable proposal from someone she had been trying to overrule. The queen consort realized that outright rejecting Charlotte's diplomatic solution would make her appear unreasonable and inflexible, especially given that the proposal actually addressed her stated privacy concerns. However, Queen Camilla was also aware that accepting Charlotte's proposal would essentially validate the princess's authority to modify royal security arrangements. The queen consort had worked hard to establish her position within the palace hierarchy, and she was reluctant to accept any precedent that suggested a 9-year-old could successfully challenge her decisions. "Charlotte, while I appreciate your suggestions," Camilla replied carefully, "I believe my original instructions were clear and appropriate. I expect the guards to follow those instructions exactly as I gave them, without modifications or interpretations from other family members." Charlotte realized that Queen Camilla was rejecting her diplomatic solution, not because of its merits, but because accepting it would acknowledge Charlotte's authority in palace matters. The princess understood that this was fundamentally about power and hierarchy, rather than security protocols or privacy needs. "I understand your position," Charlotte responded with diplomatic precision, "but I cannot agree to security arrangements that violate established protocols regardless of who authorizes them. Palace security procedures exist for important reasons, and following them properly is everyone's responsibility, including mine." The princess then made a statement that surprised everyone present with its sophistication and understanding of royal constitutional principles. "Our family's authority comes from our commitment to serving the monarchy's best interests, not from our ability to ignore established procedures when they're inconvenient. If I authorize improper security arrangements today, I would be failing in my responsibility to the institution we all serve." Queen Camilla was taken aback by Charlotte's invocation of constitutional principles and institutional responsibility. The Queen Consort had not expected a 9-year-old to articulate such a clear understanding of the philosophical foundations of royal authority. Camilla began to realize that she was not dealing with a stubborn child having a tantrum, but with someone who had genuine understanding of royal responsibilities and was prepared to defend important principles. The standoff continued for several more minutes, with neither Charlotte nor Camilla willing to back down from their positions. The guards remained at attention, but were clearly uncomfortable with the ongoing conflict between their competing authorities. Palace staff who had gathered to observe the situation were amazed by Charlotte's composure and articulate defense of her position. Finally, Sergeant Thompson made a decision that reflected his years of experience and his genuine concern for resolving the situation professionally. "Your Royal Highness, Your Majesty." He addressed both Charlotte and Camilla formally. "Perhaps I could suggest that we implement Princess Charlotte's modified security arrangement on a temporary basis while seeking guidance from Prince William's protection team about the proper protocols for this type of situation." The sergeant's suggestion was diplomatically brilliant because it provided both royal family members with a way to avoid losing face while moving toward a practical resolution. Queen Camilla could agree to the temporary arrangement without permanently accepting Charlotte's authority, while Charlotte could ensure that proper security protocols were followed without completely overruling Camilla's wishes. Charlotte immediately recognized the wisdom of the sergeant's proposal and the face-saving opportunity it provided for everyone involved. "That seems like a reasonable approach," she agreed. "The temporary modified arrangement ensures proper security while we clarify the correct procedures through official channels." Queen Camilla found herself in a difficult position. The sergeant's proposal was reasonable and provided her with a way to end the confrontation without completely capitulating to Charlotte's demands. However, accepting it would still represent a compromise of her original position and would establish that Charlotte's concerns carried enough weight to modify royal security arrangements. After a long pause, Queen Camilla responded, "Very well. We can implement a temporary arrangement while seeking clarification of proper procedures. However, I want it clearly understood that this is a temporary compromise, not an acceptance of alternative authority structures." Charlotte nodded diplomatically, understanding that Queen Camilla needed to maintain some sense of authority in the situation. Of course. The important thing is ensuring that security protocols are properly maintained while respecting everyone's legitimate needs. The immediate crisis was resolved, but everyone involved understood that the underlying issues about royal authority, palace protocols, and family hierarchy remained unresolved. Charlotte had successfully defended the principle that security protocols should be followed properly, but she had also learned that challenging established authority figures would always be complicated and politically sensitive. As the guards moved to implement the modified arrangement, Charlotte realized that this confrontation had taught her valuable lessons about leadership, diplomacy, and the complexities of royal family dynamics. She had discovered that being right about important principles was not always sufficient to ensure easy resolution of conflicts, especially when those conflicts involved personality and authority issues, rather than simple disagreements about facts or procedures. The princess also understood that her relationship with Queen Camilla had been fundamentally changed by this confrontation. While they had found a temporary solution to the immediate problem, the deeper questions about Charlotte's role and authority within the royal family would require ongoing navigation and careful diplomatic management. Word of the confrontation between Princess Charlotte and Queen Camilla spread through Buckingham Palace's extensive staff network within hours. Palace employees had witnessed many royal disagreements over the years, but they had never seen such a direct and principled challenge from someone so young. The story evolved with each telling, but the core facts remained consistent. 9-year-old Princess Charlotte had successfully defended palace security protocols against Queen Camilla's preferences and had done so with remarkable diplomatic skill. Prince William received a detailed briefing about the incident from his protection team later that afternoon. The heir to the throne was initially concerned about potential family tensions, but as he listened to the complete account, he found himself impressed by Charlotte's handling of the situation. William had always known that his daughter possessed exceptional intelligence and natural leadership abilities, but this incident demonstrated a level of maturity and principled thinking that exceeded his expectations. The Prince of Wales faced a delicate balancing act. He needed to support his daughter's correct understanding of security protocols while maintaining family harmony and respecting Queen Camilla's position within the royal hierarchy. William understood that how he handled this situation would send important messages to both Charlotte and Camilla about authority, responsibility, and family dynamics. Meanwhile, Princess Charlotte continued with her normal daily routine, attending lessons with her tutors and participating in family activities as if nothing unusual had occurred. The princess had learned from her parents that royal life required the ability to compartmentalize difficult situations and continue fulfilling responsibilities regardless of personal conflicts or challenges. However, Charlotte was also processing the lessons learned from her confrontation with Queen Camilla. The princess had discovered that being correct about important principles did not automatically make conflicts easy to resolve. She had also learned that adult family members might not always appreciate challenges to their authority, even when those challenges were based on legitimate concerns and proper procedures. Charlotte's tutors noticed that she seemed more thoughtful and mature in the days following the incident. The princess asked more sophisticated questions about royal history, constitutional principles, and leadership challenges. Her governess observed that Charlotte seemed to be genuinely grappling with the complexities of royal authority and the responsibilities that came with her position in the line of succession. Queen Camilla, for her part, spent considerable time reflecting on the incident and its implications. The queen consort had been genuinely surprised by Charlotte's knowledge, composure, and articulate defense of her position. Camilla had initially viewed the confrontation as simple insubordination that needed to be quickly corrected, but she had gradually come to understand that she had been dealing with someone who possessed genuine understanding of royal responsibilities. The queen consort found herself in the uncomfortable position of recognizing that Charlotte had been essentially correct about the security protocols, while also feeling that her own authority had been undermined. Camilla understood that palace staff were discussing the incident and drawing their own conclusions about the wisdom and leadership potential of the young princess. 3 days after the original confrontation, Prince William requested a private meeting with Queen Camilla to discuss the incident and its broader implications. The Prince of Wales approached the conversation with careful diplomacy, understanding that he needed to address the situation while maintaining positive relationships with both his daughter and his stepmother. "Camilla, I wanted to discuss what happened with Charlotte and the security arrangements," William began diplomatically. "I understand that there was some disagreement about protocols, and I wanted to make sure we're all aligned on how these situations should be handled in the future." Queen Camilla had been dreading this conversation, but also recognized that it was necessary. "William, I hope you understand that I wasn't trying to cause problems. I simply needed privacy for some delicate consultations, and I felt that Charlotte's intervention was inappropriate given her age." Prince William nodded understandingly. "I completely appreciate your need for privacy, and I understand your surprise at Charlotte's involvement. However, I have to say that her understanding of security protocols was actually quite accurate. She's been receiving extensive education about palace procedures, and she demonstrated remarkable knowledge and judgment in this situation." The Prince of Wales continued carefully. "I think what we're dealing with here is Charlotte's natural leadership abilities and her genuine sense of responsibility for royal duties. She wasn't trying to be difficult or disrespectful. She was genuinely concerned about security procedures and felt responsible for addressing what she saw as a potential problem." Queen Camilla listened carefully to William's explanation, beginning to understand that Charlotte's actions had been motivated by sense of duty rather than personal defiance. The queen consort had initially interpreted Charlotte's behavior through the lens of her own experiences with challenging children, but she was starting to see that this situation was fundamentally different. "I suppose I underestimated her knowledge and maturity," Camilla admitted. "But William, I also need you to understand that having my instructions questioned and modified by a 9-year-old, regardless of her position, was quite embarrassing and undermining." William acknowledged Camilla's feelings while gently defending his daughter's actions. "I understand how the situation must have felt, but I think it's important to recognize that Charlotte was acting from genuine knowledge and responsibility rather than trying to embarrass anyone. She actually showed considerable diplomacy in trying to find solutions that addressed your privacy needs while maintaining proper protocols." The Prince of Wales then addressed the broader implications of the incident. "I think this situation has shown us that Charlotte is developing into someone who will take her royal responsibilities very seriously. We need to find ways to channel her leadership abilities constructively while teaching her to navigate complex family dynamics. Queen Camilla realized that William was essentially asking her to accept Charlotte as a legitimate voice in palace affairs despite her age. This was a significant shift from traditional approaches to royal children, but Camilla could see that Charlotte was indeed exceptional in her knowledge and maturity. "How do you suggest we handle similar situations in the future?" Camilla asked, recognizing that clear guidelines would prevent future conflicts. William had been thinking carefully about this question. "I think we need to establish that Charlotte's concerns about security protocols should be taken seriously and addressed through proper channels. If she identifies potential problems, those concerns should be reviewed by the appropriate security teams rather than dismissed based on her age." The Prince of Wales continued, "At the same time, Charlotte needs to learn that raising concerns doesn't mean she has automatic authority to override adult decisions. She should bring security issues to the attention of the proper authorities and then trust the system to address them appropriately." Queen Camilla found this approach reasonable and recognized that it provided clear guidelines for future situations. "That seems like a balanced approach. Charlotte can raise legitimate concerns, but final decisions rest with appropriate adult authorities." William nodded but added an important caveat. "However, I think we also need to recognize that Charlotte's position in the line of succession does give her certain authorities and responsibilities. She's not just any child. She's someone who will eventually have significant royal duties, and she needs to develop the skills and confidence necessary for those responsibilities." The conversation continued for another hour, with William and Camilla working through various scenarios and establishing guidelines for future situations involving Charlotte's developing royal role. Both adults came to understand that Charlotte's exceptional abilities and position required them to rethink traditional approaches to royal children. By the end of their discussion, Queen Camilla had gained new appreciation for Charlotte's knowledge and sense of responsibility, while William had helped establish framework for managing his daughter's developing authority within the royal family structure. The incident had ultimately strengthened understanding and communication between the adult family members, even as it highlighted the unique challenges posed by Charlotte's exceptional abilities and position. 2 weeks after the confrontation, Princess Charlotte found herself walking through the same corridor where the incident had occurred. The guards were now positioned according to standard protocols, and the area had returned to its normal operational routine. However, the princess carried with her the knowledge that this seemingly ordinary palace hallway had been the site of her first significant assertion of royal authority. Charlotte had spent considerable time with her tutors discussing the lessons learned from the confrontation with Queen Camilla. Her governess had emphasized that true leadership required not only the courage to stand up for correct principles, but also the wisdom to understand when and how to exercise authority effectively. The princess had begun to appreciate the complexity of royal responsibilities and the delicate balance required to maintain both principles and relationships. The incident had also sparked deeper conversations within the royal family about Charlotte's developing role and the unique challenges she would face as a future senior royal. Prince William and Catherine had recognized that their daughter possessed exceptional abilities that required careful nurturing and guidance. They understood that Charlotte's natural leadership instincts needed to be channeled constructively while ensuring she developed the diplomatic skills necessary for her future position. Queen Camilla had undergone her own period of reflection following the incident and her subsequent conversation with Prince William. The Queen Consort had come to appreciate that Charlotte represented a new generation of royals who would bring different perspectives and approaches to traditional royal duties. Camilla had also recognized that her initial reaction to Charlotte's challenge had been based more on personal authority concerns than on objective assessment of the situation. The relationship between Charlotte and Queen Camilla had evolved significantly in the weeks following their confrontation. Both had made efforts to understand each other's perspectives and to establish a foundation for future cooperation. Charlotte had learned to appreciate Camilla's experience and position within the royal family, while Camilla had gained respect for Charlotte's intelligence and sense of responsibility. Palace staff had also drawn their own conclusions from observing the incident and its aftermath. Many veteran employees had been impressed by Charlotte's knowledge and composure during the confrontation, and word had spread throughout royal circles about the young princess's exceptional abilities. The incident had enhanced Charlotte's reputation among palace staff as someone who possessed genuine understanding of royal duties and responsibilities. Sergeant Thompson had found himself in the unique position of having witnessed what many considered a defining moment in Princess Charlotte's development as a future royal leader. The veteran guard had been impressed by Charlotte's combination of knowledge, principle, and diplomacy throughout the confrontation, He had also gained appreciation for the challenges faced by young royals, who must navigate complex family dynamics while developing their own sense of authority and responsibility. The broader implications of the incident extended beyond the immediate family dynamics to questions about the future direction of the monarchy itself. Charlotte's approach to the confrontation had demonstrated a willingness to challenge established authority when necessary, while maintaining respect for proper procedures and institutional values. This combination of principled leadership and institutional loyalty suggested that Charlotte would bring a unique perspective to her future royal role. Princess Charlotte's tutors had incorporated lessons from the incident into her ongoing education about royal history and constitutional principles. The princess had studied previous examples of young royals who had demonstrated exceptional abilities and had learned about the various ways that natural leadership talents could be developed and channeled effectively. Charlotte had come to understand that her experience was part of a longer tradition of royal development and growth. The incident had also highlighted the importance of clear communication and understanding within the royal family about roles, responsibilities, and authority structures. Prince William had initiated ongoing discussions with family members about how to handle similar situations in the future and how to ensure that Charlotte's developing abilities were supported appropriately. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had been particularly thoughtful about the incident's implications for Charlotte's emotional and social development. She had worked with Charlotte to process the experience and to understand the importance of maintaining humility and empathy even when standing up for important principles. Catherine had emphasized that true royal authority came from service to others rather than from personal power or position. The incident had ultimately strengthened Charlotte's understanding of her own capabilities and responsibilities while teaching her valuable lessons about the complexity of royal family dynamics. The princess had learned that being correct about important principles was only the beginning of effective leadership. She also needed to develop the diplomatic skills and emotional intelligence necessary to navigate complex interpersonal situations. As Charlotte reflected on the experience during her walk through the palace corridors, she felt a sense of pride in having successfully defended important principles, while also learning valuable lessons about leadership and diplomacy. The princess understood that this incident would likely be remembered as a significant moment in her development as a future royal leader. The confrontation had also had broader impacts beyond the immediate family circle. The royal observers and constitutional experts had taken note of the incident as evidence of the exceptional abilities and potential of the next generation of royals. Some had seen Charlotte's actions as indicative of a future monarchy that would be more direct and principled in its approach to institutional responsibilities. Looking toward the future, the incident had established important precedents for how Charlotte's developing authority would be recognized and channeled within the royal family structure. The princess had demonstrated that age alone would not disqualify her from having meaningful input on important matters, particularly those involving her areas of knowledge and expertise. The resolution of the confrontation had also created a framework for future situations involving conflicts between different levels of royal authority. Clear guidelines had been established for how concerns should be raised and addressed, ensuring that legitimate issues could be resolved without creating unnecessary family tensions or undermining established authority structures. Princess Charlotte had emerged from the experience with enhanced confidence in her own judgment and abilities, while also gaining deeper appreciation for the complexity of royal responsibilities. The incident had served as an important milestone in her development as a future leader, demonstrating her ability to combine principled thinking with diplomatic skill and institutional loyalty. As she completed her walk through the palace corridors, Charlotte felt a sense of readiness for the challenges that lay ahead in her royal journey. The confrontation with Queen Camilla had taught her that leadership required courage, wisdom, and the ability to navigate complex relationships while maintaining commitment to important principles. These were lessons that would serve her well throughout her life as a member of the royal family and eventually as a senior royal herself. The incident would be remembered within royal circles as the moment when Princess Charlotte first demonstrated the exceptional leadership abilities that would define her approach to royal duties. It had shown that the future of the monarchy would be in capable hands, guided by someone who possessed both deep respect for royal traditions and the courage to uphold important principles when necessary.